Alrighty, so I'm going to show you some stuff about the Hybrid 5. This is the second video that I'll post. It's for after you already know how to fill pop-ups and stuff. But I'll just do a brief refresher here. You drag the edit console back and forth by clicking on the screen box, and then to open it up and close it you just click the word edit console. And you'll see that the first time you open it up, you'll see a blue box pop on the screen. I'll open it back up again. The first time you open up the edit console, actually the second time. The first time you open it up, it just gets the list of all the main MP3s. The second time you open it, if it hasn't already collected them, it also gets the list of the MP3s that are inside the MP3 files new folder. And right now I've got a bunch of what I call precursors in there. So I'll open it back up, and you see that blue box that just popped up. You always want to make sure that you wait until the box goes away before you do something else. It should be relatively instantaneous. The reason why it's not on this is because I'm shooting a video right now and it takes up a lot of RAM from my laptop, so the boxes take a while to go away, but they should only take a quarter of a second mostly. But just make sure that you wait for the box to go away before you do something. Alright, so let's see here. To add something to a pop-up, you just click on it in the list, click and hold, and then release it over the pop-up you want to add it to. And then you hear the dropping sound. If you try to add the same one, you'll hear this. And that's just basically to tell you that one's already in there. And then once you add something to a pop-up, you'll see this white box go around the side, and that's to let you know when you open up the board next time that you've got an MP3 in there that you haven't added to the stage inside the button yet. So if I close the board down and I open it back up, let's say I come back to it later, say, oh okay, I've still got something in there that I haven't added yet. But the way you actually add it, right now you've just got an MP3 associated with there. You haven't actually put it on the stage inside the button. So to do that, you open up the edit console and you go to edit pops, click that, and you can see that it's turned on because it's red. And then you click the pop-up that you want to edit, and it automatically gets created because I have auto create turned on. And the way you do that is you go to this, if you have a text file inside your main folder here called options, and inside of it, I'm not sure if this is the right, I think it's right. I can turn it off by doing that and save it. Now if I open up the board this time and I go to edit that same pop-up, well, that's interesting. Maybe I didn't do it the right format. Hold on a second, I gotta check my jackboard. I didn't copy the options file over from the jackboard to all the other hybrid folders yet, so let me make sure I have this right. As it turns out, I didn't have it exactly the way the text file is supposed to be. I don't know if this makes any difference, but I'll redo it. I don't like typing on my laptop. Let's save that, close the board down, open it back up and see what happens. Yeah, see, I don't know what difference it made typing it the other way. I'll just include the text file the way it is, and but to turn it on, you go like this and save it. There'll be more options in there eventually, but right now the only option I have that is included in the options file, something that you can control, is the auto create, and that's just because it's the first feature where somebody has said, I don't like it that way, can you make it a different way? So I provided that functionality. So now when you go back in there, because I just turned it back on, when you go inside the pop-up, anything in the list that isn't already out on the stage will automatically get created. And it's the same thing as having auto create turned off in the text file and hitting create all. So I'll do that. I'll just put this back off. Save it. Open up the board again. And now when I go in there, it won't automatically create it. But if I hit create all, it does the same thing as having auto create on. It goes through all the list of all the MP3s inside the pop-up, or all the buttons rather, inside of a pop-up window. And anything that's in the list that isn't already out on the stage, if you hit create all or if you have auto create turned on, it'll create it automatically. So I'll show you. I'll just add a bunch of stuff to a pop-up window. If you hold shift down when you're in the list, either the new list, MP3 list, or the old, you can hold shift down and select a bunch of stuff and it'll select them all.
Anyway,
and you can select, I think it's up to 256. Like if I try to hit all red on the old MP3 list, there's like 3,000 MP3s in there. It says up here in the messages box, this feature only works on the new MP3 list. And that's because the whole idea of this is so that you can drag a whole bunch of stuff into a window all at once, and now all of these are added. Just make sure you hit clear red after you're done, because if you forget you've got it on and you go down here and then you go to add a bunch of other stuff
I came across your number and
to a different pop-up window, you'll still have these ones up here selected, and there'll be a bunch of MP3s in there that you don't want. So just make sure you turn it off. But the reason I have it so that it only works with the new MP3s is because it's built in so that you can't add more than 256 things at a time, and I'll go in there and I'll show you why. When I hit create all, it's going to create the ones that are in here that aren't already out on the stage. I made it so that they auto create and it goes down to about here before it starts a new column. So if you take this many times, like probably 8 columns, it ends up to be about 250 or something like that. And that's because I didn't want it to take up the entire stage down here. Most of the buttons don't venture too far up into this area here, so this area is pretty much usable for new stuff that gets auto-created. And I didn't want it to have the columns go down here, and I didn't want to have them go off the stage here so that you couldn't click them. So I set it to 256, and since there are way more than 256 MP3 files in your main MP3 list, I just made it so that you couldn't do more than that many anyway. And with the new MP3 list, if you try to select all of them, if you have more than 256 in there, it'll tell you. You can select them all, but when I go to drop them in, oh, okay, well I have less than 256 then, because I just dropped them all into there. So now if I hit create all, it's going to make all of them. Yeah, I had a lot less than 256. But you see how some of them overlap. That's not really that big a deal. But, you know. Anyway, when you hit create all, or if auto create is turned on and you open up a pop-up window and it creates all of them for you, they're automatically all selected for dragging. And you can tell that because up in the upper left-hand corner of each button you'll see this little purple scope. And that means that it's one of the ones that's selected, where if you click and drag on them,
somebody blows their nose and you want to...
and they all move at once together. So you can turn that off if you want and drag them individually. Or if there's a whole bunch selected and you click on one that doesn't have the purple thing in the corner, it'll move that by itself.
Do you have a deck on pillow?
So if you try to drag any of these, they're all linked together.
You're a terrible...
until you turn this off.